The first poster for an upcoming Telugu film with film dynast NT Rama Jr. playing the war god Murugan was recently embroiled in controversy. The actor's post on social media was accompanied by the text, "Born in the North, forged in the heartland, worshipped in the South." Tamil pride groups such as the NTK spearheaded a backlash insisting that the god is Tamil and Tamil alone, sparking an online war with NTR Jr.'s fans. Each side is arguing over where the god comes from, as if a cultural, religious, and political phenomenon extending over 2000 years could have had a single point of origin. The fact is that this divine warrior god is known by many names in many lands, and what both sides forget is that Tamils and Telugus actually have a shared medieval history of devotion to Murugan and a parallel modern history of revering film stars. But over the course of the 20th century, these impulses, which were divided by regional caste and media interests, have produced distinct warring cultures of citizen devotees. One is focused inwards on hardline Tamil exceptionalism. The other looks outwards to the scions of film dynasties who are bringing them Hollywood and Bollywood trends. Neither remembers who they once were. Firstly, the all important question, where was Murugan born? In an earlier edition of Thinking Medieval, I examined the evolution of a spear-wielding warrior god called Mahasena. He was worshipped by the Kushans, who were a Central Asian people settled in North India who traded with the Romans in the early century CE. In his academic monograph, The Rise of Mahasena, art historian Richard Mann argued, based on analysis of text, coins, and sculptures, that Mahasena came to be linked with an older North Indian divinity called Skanda. The latter was identified as the son of the great god Shiva and his consort Parvati, herself the daughter of the personified Himalayas. Here's where it gets complicated though. Around the same time, and maybe earlier, Tamil poems of the Sangam period describe a warrior god of the hills, Murugan or Cheyon, the Red One. He was a god of the hunt and of war, the slayer of a demon, worshipped with frenzied dancing and the blood of a ram offered under a tree. In the Sangam poems, we don't really see any of the mythological texture of the Sanskrit Skanda Purana. There's no six-haired infant, no daughter of the mountain king, no Himalaya. In The Many Faces of Murugan, religious historian Fred Clothy uses a comparative study of the Sri Lankan hill god Gale Devia of Kataragrama to argue that Murugan may have been a god of great antiquity. He was likely worshipped by megalith builders in the late centuries BCE, if not much earlier. Now, nuancing this conclusion, other Sangam poems indicate that there was an awareness of North India down in Tamil Nadu. Some texts mention Brahmins and shrines to minor gods. Archaeology also suggests that India's coasts were fairly well connected at this time. The fact is that no god or culture is ever hermetically sealed. Even in fairly early poems, Murugan is associated with roosters, with which Skanda Mahasena was also linked in the north. The possibility of an early fusion or borrowing between these gods has been used by the Hindu right to argue that there was never an independent Tamil deity, but that's an extreme position. What we can say based on the evidence is that there's clearly two distinct mythological and ritual systems, one for Mahasena, Skanda Kartikeya, and rather for Cheyon Murugan. But we don't have all the evidence needed to say which one came earlier or to trace out the earliest links, appropriations, or borrowings. Over the next centuries, though, Murugan came to be identified unambiguously with Skanda, very often by Tamil kings themselves. As architectural historian Padma Kemal writes in Opening Kailasanatha, the 8th century Pallava dynasty of Kanchipuram built several temples identifying the king with Shiva, the queen with Parvati, and the crown prince with Murugan or Skanda. Cheyon's red skin, which was sung off in so many Sangam poems, gradually came to be represented in medieval sculptures and paintings as wheatish and golden, more in line with the medieval aristocrat and the divine warrior of the Sanskrit Puranas. It's as the warrior companion of kings that the god became famous across the east coast, both in the Chola kingdom and in Andhra. Several of Murugan's most important Tamil temples today underwent extensive Chola era expansions. In the Golingeshwara temple at the heart of the Krishna Godavari delta, inscriptions refer to the god as Vijayeshwara Mahadeva, the great god, the lord of victory. Archaeologist S. Nageshwara Rao dates this temple to the 11th century when the region was within the Chola military sphere of influence. Simultaneously, while retaining his warrior iconography, Murugan also became linked to Brahminical learning in both Tamil and Sanskritic traditions. From around the 8th and 9th centuries, according to Clothy, the martial boy warrior was reworked into Subramanya, the Guru Murti, the teacher form. He became the child ascetic who has conquered desire, the preceptor who instructs even Brahma, even his own father Shiva, in the meaning of the sacred syllable Om. His lance became a symbol of discriminating wisdom. At Palani, which is a medieval shrine now especially sacred to the god, he stands as the renouncer who gave up the world. That's a long way from the ancient hill god with ram's blood on his sacrificial stone. Murugan also became the god of the Tamil language itself. According to Clothy in Shaiva Siddhanta, which is the ritual framework of Tamil Shaivism, Subramanya Murugan is sometimes read as the perfect embodiment of the divine, the guru who imparts liberating insights and severs the soul's bonds. Other works such as the Kallatam made Murugan the teacher who gave the legendary sage Agastya both the Vedas and Tamil grammar. A beloved legend narrated by Dravidologist Kamal Zwelabil in The Smile of Murugan concerns Arunagiri, who was a 15th century wastrel who attempted suicide from the Gopuram tower at Tiruvannamalai. As he fell to the ground, he was caught in the arms of an elderly man who turned out to be Murugan in disguise, who thrust desires out of his heart with the point of his lance, touched his tongue, and commanded him to sing. Over his lifetime, the historical Arunagiri went on to compose over 1,367 poems in praise of Murugan, called the Tiruppukkal. Here is one of his poems, translated by Svelabil. O Guha, master of Shiva, lover of Valli, your bride, you dwell in Tiruverakam on Kaveri's northern shores with fully grown shady groves, sweet child of Uma, Ganesha's brother, great hero, destroyer of demoniac pride. To Svelabil, Guha is a Sanskritic name. Valli is Murugan's consort in Tamil tradition. Tiruverakam and Kaveri area are from the Tamil mindscape, but the links with Uma and Ganesha both emerged from the Sanskritic tradition. So, was Arunagiri's Murugan born in the north or was he solely Tamil? Svelabil puts this conundrum beautifully, and I quote, several streams converge and merge in his work. The hymnic tradition of Shaiva and Vaishnava Bhakti, the reflective stream of Shaiva Siddhanta philosophy, the ancient inheritance of bardic poetry, the vast resources of Aryan or Sanskritic mythology, the deep wells of indigenous Tamil myths and legends connected with the cult of Murugan, and last but not least, Arunagiri's own shattering life experience. Now, the god's popularity further took off under the Vijayanagara Empire, which was a Deccan-based polity whose ruling class was multilingual, multi-ethnic, and came from across southern India. Vijayanagara's viceroys in Tamil Nadu were frequently of Telugu descent, and one of these dynasties, the Madura Nayakas, were a patron of Tiruparankundram, which was one of Murugan's 6 sacred abodes in Tamil Nadu. When Veerappa Nayaka built a colossal 7-story Gopuram for the temple in the 17th century, he issued a foundation inscription both in Tamil and Telugu. It was a time of great growth in Murugan's popularity. According to Clothy, the legendary Bhakti poet Sambandar was considered Murugan's incarnation in the 1600s. A mute child at Tiruchendur who was drowning in the sea was said to have opened his mouth only to sing Murugan's praises. Names such as Murugan and Subramaniam, which are still popular among Tamils to this day, increasingly appear in epigraphy and literature from the 1600s and 1700s onwards. Now, to understand Murugan's journey to today's culture wars, we have to take a brief pit stop in the 20th century when the Telugu and Tamil regions took divinity and the sacred more broadly in parallel directions. Anthropologist Uma Maheshwari Bhrugavanda argues in her book Deities and Devotees that mythological Telugu films developed as an engine of linguistic nationalism, a way of calling a people into being through Puranic storytelling or biopics of legendary devotees. A dialogue is typically in sonorous Sanskrit-infused Telugu, the coastal Andhra dialect of the land-owning dominant castes. Voiceovers, prologues, and extensive documentary footage of real temples brought sacred myth into the present. Bhrugavanda describes the intended audience as citizen devotees, someone for whom the god on the screen is not a performance but a presence. The summoning of the citizen devotee developed into a political technology that landed caste coalitions learned to wield. N.T. Rama Rao, the towering figure who played Krishna in 17 films over 20 years, founded the Telugu Desam party on Kamma agrarian wealth and a promise of Telugu self-respect, sweeping to power within a year. When the Kama caste dominance in the industry grew controversial, the Kapus found their own star in Chiranjeevi, who was a swaggering hero of humbler origin, and he too would eventually launch his own political party. Film theorists have interpreted the blockbuster RRR, starring both NTR Jr. and Chiranjeevi's son Ram Charan, as effectively a truce between the castes, allying both with the Hindu right. This brings the wheel back to NTR Jr.'s God of War, latest in the tradition of the pan-Indian blockbuster pioneered by Bahubali, a Hollywood-scaled, computer-generated Hindu civilizational epic pitched at a national and global market. The citizen devotees, it seems, are being called to a larger project, no longer to vote for landlords in the name of Telugu self-respect, but instead to secure film dynasty's lieutenantship in the pan-Indian Hindutva mythos. Meanwhile, Tamil Nadu did something else with the same impulse to adore the silver screen. The Dravidian movement was rationalist, anti-Brahmin, and contemptuous of Puranic religion, yet it recast the Tamil language as Tamil Thai, Mother Tamil. The language became the focus of a devotion described by historian Sumati Ramaswamy in her book Passions of the Tongue as Tamil Patra, a love of language fierce enough that men set themselves alight for it, which actually happened in multiple protests. In this mythos, contact with the north, whether Sanskrit, Hindi, or Telugu, was often interpreted as imposed upon a progressive and egalitarian Dravidian past. And as Dravidian leaders came to political power, they also adopted more pragmatic positions on religion, largely validating popular devotion to gods such as Murugan or kings such as the Cholas, who became icons of Tamil exceptionalism. In fact, though the Cholas loom large in the Hindutva mythos today, Murugan's connection to Tamil hearts is older and much more powerful. A claim that he was born in the north was destined to be explosive. It's like saying that Rajendra Chola was born in Delhi. So the quarrel over God of War is not about where Murugan was born, it's about who owns him. And on that question, two nationalisms are shouting past each other. One would dissolve him into a pan-Indian Hindu civilizational spectacle, a mascot for a market and exclusionary mythos. In fact, the Bharatiya Janata Party launched major communal mobilization around Murugan's temple Tiruparankundram just last year, seeking to light a lamp near a historic dargah that shares the hill. On the other hand, hardline Dravidian or Tamil nationalism would see Murugan as Tamil alone, turning him into an icon to be guarded against the north, whether Telugu or beyond. Both nationalisms need Murugan to be one thing cleanly so that their community can be one thing cleanly, but Murugan's own history defies both. After all, he grew out of exactly this kind of borrowing and quarreling, as is only appropriate for a war god. The red hill hunter assigned a Gangetic birth, the Tamil war god endowed by Telugu kings, this invincible peacock rider, spear wielder, who is the teacher of poetry. I'm sure this might be a controversial opinion, so if you have questions or comments, we'd love to hear them. Follow us everywhere on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Anarbuddha and on Twitter at Ekanisetti. We'll see you next week.